like to welcome you to our International Expeditions webinar today. We are here to talk about Chiloé Island to be exact, and Patagonia's Northern Archipelago. And we are joined by Bill Robison, who is our Director of Program Development. Bill, over to you.
All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us today. And we are going to be talking about Chiloé Island and Patagonia's Northern Archipelagos, as Lee said. But if you don't know International Expeditions, let me give you a little bit of background on us. We have been doing this for 37 years, so a long time in the business, and our focus has always remained the same, and that's to conservation and ecotourism. I'm very happy to say that we've really opened that up to include a lot of cultural interaction as well, always focused on the authentic and immersive experiences, nothing contrived, and just high quality experiences with the locals and with the wildlife. And then one of the reasons we're able to pull that off is the high quality of our expedition leaders and guides. Excuse me. We're very proud to say that we work with some of the best in the world. And here in Chile and Chiloé on this program in particular, that's certainly no exception. All right, so I thought we'd start off with a little bit of a walk through the trip, just so you can see it on a map here and know the areas that we're talking about. The trip begins in Puerto Montt, or excuse me, in Puerto Varas. Puerto Varas is just north of Puerto Montt. Puerto Montt is the airport and the embarkation point for the cruise. So we'll spend a night in Puerto Varas on the lake, and then the 5-night cruise is going to visit some of the beaches and towns and along through the archipelago and through the gulfs here, and also visit San Rafael Glacier, a 30,000-year-old glacier. It's huge and beautiful and very, very active. Sadly, it's retreating very quickly, but we'll talk more about that here in a bit. We'll come back and make some stops on Chiloé Island before disembarking back in Puerto Montt. That's a 5-night cruise. And then we'll spend 3 nights on the island itself, 2 of those in Quilquico and 1 of those in Waco. So that is the program in a nutshell. This trip, it's an exploration of an area that's connecting 2 worlds. It's the Andes and the Pacific and the areas in between. There's a wide variety of habitats here, from the mountains and the volcanoes up in the Andes, their forested slopes and the forested lush islands, and also lots of rivers and lakes, and all the wonderful wildlife that goes along with those specialized environments. In fact, this is a biodiversity hotspot. And Chiloé Island, it's really rapidly becoming a popular place to visit. I used to say that it was Chiloé's best kept secret, but that secret's out, and everybody is rushing to visit. Now, the nice thing about it is accommodations on the island are very limited, so only really the adventurous and the curious get to explore it in depth. The masses just can't get in. So to ensure you get that in-depth exploration of this, this is going to be a combo of a cruise and charming lodges. The 5-night cruise we were talking about allows you to experience the wonders of the archipelagos, such as San Rafael Glacier, and the wonderful wildlife at sea, as well as to enjoy cruising on a family-owned and operated vessel, the Cochifas family. That was one of the sons, the captain that I was in the picture there with. Really a wonderful operation that they have. Very proud of it. They're very family-oriented, and a lot of the family are on board. Now, with 3 nights on the island, we'll be able to explore more towns, and as well as be able to explore the lush rainforest for more terrestrial and also avian species that just don't live around the water. So that's going to give our guests a thorough and easy-paced examination of the Chilote culture. The islanders, they're called Chilotes, and to learn about what makes them unique and interesting. And they are a breed apart. They're very different than the mainlanders. They have some really wonderful folklore and things like that. This will all be done with a professional and educational expedition leader, or leadership throughout with our expedition leader. He'll be there to interpret the flora and the fauna, as well as the Chilote culture. He'll be giving informative presentations on board, and they're really nice guys to travel with as well. They're some of the best, and you can see a list of them on our website to see who can be on this program. So as we mentioned, we start off with your night in Puerto Varas, and that's followed by the 5-night cruise. From there, you're going to sail south from Puerto Montt through the Yanquihue Archipelago, the Ancud Gulf, Chiloé Archipelago, and the Corcovado Gulf. That's going to take you down to San Rafael Glacier. Along the way, you're going to see lots of interesting species of birds, including the Magellanic penguins during a few points during the cruise. And as you sail the coastline and make stops at those particular beaches and towns that I mentioned earlier. So watch for cetaceans, orcas, humpbacks, and even blue whales are spotted here from December through March. There's no guarantees, but the chances are pretty good. They come in pretty close to the mainland through the archipelagos and the islands there. And on clear days, you have great opportunities to see the volcanoes and the towering peaks of the Andes, which is really just amazingly beautiful, and it just makes being on the cruise that much more special when you can look up and see the mountains. You pay an afternoon visit to a Chilote village called Quinche. It's they've got one of the famous wooden churches as well as a great handicraft market. If you don't know, many of the wooden churches on Chiloé have been declared a collective UNESCO World Heritage Site. They have a very distinct wooden construction that's inspired by the way the shipbuilders that colonized the area made their ships, and it's still seen in the churches here today and the way that they do their houses here today. So as you sail, you're likely to see, let's see, pods of Peale's dolphins, groups of South American sea lion, and just a huge array of seabirds like the southern giant petrel, sooty and pink-footed shearwaters, the red-legged cormorants, and South American terns. But there's also, I think the most beautiful are the black-necked swans. You can see them along the shores feeding on algae. They have a big, bright red face, and the rest of their head and neck is black, is how they get their names. So they're really, really very beautiful. Okay, so you're going to be visiting Puerto Aguirre, which is a remote fishing village. It's in the heart of what was once the land of the Chonos people. In fact, they call this route for the boat the Chonos route in honor of those people. That village has a population of about 1,800 people, most of whom earn their living from fishing. So it's a fishing village. Skorpios, the boat here, they started visiting this village way back in 1978. And it's really the village children who got the biggest kick out of it, and they still do it today. The kids come right up to the boat every Sunday. They're just waiting for the visitors to show up, and they like take the guests by the hand and lead them through the village and tell them about this and that. Some speak English, some don't. They all try. It's just really charming, and the guests get a big kick out of it, and that tradition continues even today. So they'll be walking along a forest path there, and where they'll be watching for several species of birds, and that's before they set sail continuing south for Punta Pescadores. Now, Punta Pescadores is a small stone beach where guests walk it's probably about a mile, a little more than a mile in total. You don't have to go the whole way. Our expedition leader will be there with them, watching for the marine wildlife and learning about more about the Chonos people that once inhabited the area, and good bird watching from that spot as well. The next morning, the ship will arrive in San Rafael Lagoon, which is this ice-choked waterway formed by the glacial ice melt and all of the icebergs coming from San Rafael Glacier. The excursion boats here take you very, very close up to the icebergs in the lagoon and close to the glacier itself, but you can't get too close to San Rafael Glacier because it's a very active glacier. The chances of seeing large icebergs break off from the glacier are very high. So a lot of calving. Sadly, that means the glacier is retreating, and there's markers there to show how far out into the lagoon the glacier was when it was first discovered in the late 1800s, if I'm not mistaken, and how far back it's retreated. So it's certainly something that won't be around forever, and it's an enormous blue glacier. Very, very beautiful. The boat has these special steel-hulled Hercules vessels, the smaller excursion vessels, and that's what we use. That allows them to get closer because they're ice-rated, as is the boat. So conditions permitting, the ship even sails a little bit closer, so you get the great photography from up top before you start heading north again. So Skorpios owns about 1,000 hectares of forest in the Quitralco Hot Springs area. It's a natural sanctuary. It was declared that by the country. And Quitralco means waters of fire, and it was once populated by the Chonos people as well as a few other tribes of hunter-gatherers. And here guests will get to enjoy a typical Patagonian barbecue ashore. as well as some time to enjoy the thermal hot springs they can swim in. In addition, here we have excursions for hiking, for birding, as well as for leopards, seals, and other marine life if they're in the area using the Hercules boats, and they typically are present in the area. When I was there last, we saw quite a few otters and sea lions. But that, of course, depends on the wildlife for that day. Later that evening, they sail north and get to a place called Islote Canejos, which, interestingly enough, means Rabbit Island, though you're not going to find any rabbits. It's inhabited mainly by Magellanic penguins. A lot of other species of birds are found here, and again, our expedition leader will be there to interpret everything as the guests explore. So the last stop on the cruise is a short one in Dalcaue on Chiloé Island. Nuestra Señora de los Dolores Church is found here. It's one of the more beautiful of the UNESCO churches that are found on the island. It was built by Jesuit missionaries in 1849. Okay, so we'll do disembarkation in Puerto Montt. This is in the morning of the last day after the 5-night cruise. That'll be followed by a ferry ride over to Chiloé Island. And now here, by spending time on Chiloé, we're really going to get the chance to see species you might not have seen during the cruise, and quite a few which you wouldn't see in lower Patagonia, in southern Patagonia, in Tierra del Fuego and Torres del Paine National Parks. Excuse me. A good example of those is the Humboldt penguin, which we're going to take a drive to the northwestern portion of the island along the coast and take a boat trip at an area known as Puñuel. We'll circumnavigate a few of the islets there. They're very small, and you don't go out far at all. And you can see one of the very few mixed breeding colonies of Humboldt and Magellanic penguins. Marine otters show up here a lot. Magellanic cormorants and kelp geese, as well as the flightless steamer ducks, are usually found nesting in this area as well. So it's really a treat to see all those species in one spot. From there, we head to Parque Quilquico, which is on the bay south of Castro. Beautiful area, gorgeous rolling green hills and great views out onto the water. We'll talk about the hotel here in a bit, but here we get to explore there's a private 10-hectare reserve that the hotel is on, where the birding is just tremendous and the scenery is magnificent, and the staff at the hotel are really sweet people. It's nice interaction with some of the locals, and from here we're really going to visit more of the island at a more leisurely pace. Get to see a few more of the towns, meet some more of the people, and hear more about their history, and they're really fun. The mysticism and the little gremlins and things that live in the forest and cause certain things to happen. It's a really fun folklore was the word I was looking for. Guests will hear about that when we have this. It's a Chilote barbecue. It's called a curanto, and they'll have music and storytelling about those interesting legends and traditions from the island. Next up is the temperate rainforest of Waco National Park. Here we're going to look for the endemic slender-billed parakeets. You don't exactly have to look that far for them. They love the trees there that they have on the property of the hotel, so they're actually a frequent visitor there. Beautiful birds. So a picture of the Austral Parakeets, also called here, the slender-billed parakeets. And other species such as pudu, which is one of the smallest deer in the world. We have good chances for seeing them there. You can never be sure, but they're found quite common in the area, day and night. In fact, more sightings at night, which we'll be doing down there. They'll take a boat excursion out on the lake to explore along the shores, watch for more river otter if we haven't seen any before then, lots of aquatic bird life, and we'll even go venturing out in the evening to call for some of the night species, such as the rufous-legged owl. And I remember the first time I saw one of those there, it was incredible. We called for it, and just a few seconds later, you just barely heard this whisper going past your ears, and it was the owl coming to roost on a tree in front of us, checking out what the call was. And you never heard it coming, only it passing. And even then, it was just a breath. It floats so silently through the air, really awe-inspiring. So head out at night, maybe see some pudu as well, good chance for them. There's species of nightjar here, and those are really the good ones for the evening. The next morning, guests enjoy a scenic walk to this really beautiful waterfall where ringneck kingfishers like to hunt. They come along there and get a lot of the small fish, and the waterfall itself is beautiful. The walking's not difficult at all. It's quite flat, and the tremendously huge trees in this forest, very, very old, and it's one of the last stands of those trees anywhere because of the cutting them down for wood and furniture, and well, we all know what wood gets exploited for. So, okay, so after that, guests will head up to Castro to catch the flight from Castro to Santiago, and from there, everybody connects with their flights home. So that's the itinerary in a nutshell. The accommodations are very nice on this trip as well. In Puerto Varas, we stay at Hotel Cabana del Lago. It's a very, very well-known hotel there, one of the older ones. It's not big at 157 rooms. It all overlooks Yanquihue Lake. The restaurant in particular, it has a great location in the center of town. It's very easy to walk to and from the hotel and the waterfront for folks, especially if you want to come in a day or two early. Very easy walking to the restaurants and shops and things like that. We also have a Santiago extension for guests who like to come in early. That's with planned excursions and such, but we'll talk about options here in a bit. Then Hotel Tepuhueco, which is also called Tepuhueco Eco Lodge, has a few different names, but Tepuhueco is always in there. They have just 9 rooms. I think that they have built or are building 2 more, but it is a tiny property right in the middle of the park, overlooking the lake. It's very secluded and very peaceful. It's just one of the most charming things about it. There's a very sweet family that operates the property. They live right there, and the only other visitors are day visitors who will come in and might do an excursion on the lake and have lunch there at the lodge. And otherwise, you've pretty much got the place to yourself, and that's just one of the nicest things about it. You just have this wonderful sense of seclusion when you're out there. Rooms have heat and hot water and views of the trees and birds on the property, so it's really, really nice. And the excursions start from the front door. You're right there. You're right there in the middle of it, so it all operates just wonderfully. Now, Hotel Parque Quilquico is also a small property at 13 rooms. That's the property that's on the 10-hectare nature reserve, and it's on a hilltop overlooking these beautiful green meadows, excuse me, and Dalcaue Channel, which you can see a picture of there now, the typical views from the rooms there. Excellent food here, and a really wonderful experience. The folks at the lodge there are wonderful, and the excursions start right from the front door as well. Okay. So the Skorpios II, this ship was built in 1988 by the Cochifas family, and it's still run with great pride by that same family. The father owned a shipping company. He's a Greek immigrant, and from nothing, from just a few fishing boats, or started with nothing, got a few fishing boats, and it not too long after became one of the largest shipping companies in Chile. It's a wonderful success story. And then wanted to share his love for the country with visitors. So he had started with one ship in the south, or excuse me, in the north, this one, and added another one in the south, which goes out of Puerto Natales. They're both wonderful experiences, and a lot of the family still work on board. The mother in the family comes on board both ships. You don't know where she's going to be, and still does pastries on board just because she loves it. And the service on board is very much a family atmosphere, and it's just so much fun. They're such nice people. The ship was remodeled in 2012, so it was built in 1988, remodeled in 2012. Capacity of up to 106 passengers, berthed in 53 cabins over 5 decks. So the cabins offer twin or queen-sized beds. They all have AC, heat, satellite TV, and nice views as you sail. So it's all the amenities you would expect in there. There's 2 lounges on board the boat. Lots of deck space for enjoying the cruising and bird watching, which our expedition leaders up there pretty much all the time bird watching with the guests. The bridge is open. You can go in and visit the captain and the sailors anytime you like, provided it's not closed maybe for inclement weather. They'll certainly put up a sign. But there's an open bridge policy. There's 1 seating for meals, and there's assigned seating at meals. There's other nationalities on board, and they want to make sure you're not seated with someone who doesn't speak your language. You'd be seated with the IE group anyway, but there's other nationalities on board. A lot of them are from Spain, from Brazil, from the UK and Australia, Americans, Canadians for sure. Very nice people all there because they love enjoying the outdoors and the wildlife and the cruising. So very nice people on board. It's a very nice mix, and get to make a lot of friends. Okay, so international air. International air for this trip is into Puerto Montt and out of Santiago. The flight at the end that I had mentioned from Castro to Santiago, That is part of the trip. It's priced separately. As you can see here, the in-country flights and port taxes is $310. But that is a group flight. So that one, we get you to Santiago, but it starts in Puerto Montt and ends in Santiago. As you can see here is our pricing for the programs and the departure date, February 1st, 2018. I want you to note that our pricing is very inclusive. The tipping, with the exception of the expedition leader and the ship's crew, is all included. You don't have to tip local guides, drivers, and things like that, porters. That's all taken care of. While you're on board, all the house drinks are included. That's bottled water, selected beers, and wines. The wines they never served the same one twice. Every night on board, they had different Chilean wines, and they were just tremendous. They weren't the, let's just serve cheap wine because it's local. I mean, they took great pride in the wine list. It was really nice. The local beers, the select spirits, coffees, and things like that, all included in the price of your trip. Bottled water is included throughout, and where we have meals not on board the ship, we include a soft drink or a local beer as well, so you don't get nickeled and dimed along the way. So the first one's on us. Okay, transfers are included no matter what day or time, and airport assistance in Santiago is also included no matter what day or time. Nothing starts a trip off worse than not being able to get to your hotel comfortably. You know, you're landing in a foreign country, you might not speak the language, you know, there's aggressive taxi drivers and such. We take you right from the first moment that you get into the country right till the end. So you'll be switching flights. You don't change airports, change flights in Santiago. We'll have assistance for you doing that. And that's all included in the price of your trip. All right, well, Chile's it's been very popular, always has been, but it's just never more so than now. They're just doing such a great job, especially the tourism board. They're just doing a great job of promoting all the wonderful activities and the wide variety of activities that the country offers. The range of activities is really limitless, and the combinations of which are limitless throughout the country. You know, one of the reasons they're doing it, or some of the reasons they're doing it, is they have a very stable government, stable economy, low crime, very high quality infrastructure and lodging and transportation, all very reliable and high quality. Service levels, very high quality, and no Zika. Zika is not affecting Chile. And, you know, there's no terrorism. Knock wood, and not to take away from destinations that are suffering because of that, because they're still wonderful destinations. But that's just something that just doesn't have to be on your mind when you're here. So all those things combined really are helping Chile to get into the forefront. Explorations like Atacama and Easter Island, Patagonia, Lower Patagonia, the wine country in particular, and much more. They're all just becoming so much more popular, and for great reason. The experiences you can have here are just unlike any in the world. And La Serena as well, I wanted to mention that for the astronomy. La Serena in Atacama has some of the best telescopes in the world, some of the highest telescopes in the world. And the La Serena area and Vicuña, they have public telescopes where people can go and look at these high-powered telescopes into the night sky and just see some unbelievable things. You know, I've always said you're never closer to heaven when you're on Earth than you are when you're in Atacama and La Serena. And if you're like me, I love a good mixture of all those things, and Chile has it all. The Lake District is really opening up and combining well with Patagonia. And, excuse me, I wanted to introduce you here to my colleague, Charley Weaver. He couldn't be with us today, but Charley is in charge of custom itineraries and experiences in Latin America. He has had a lot of success with puma trekking and birding. He does all this custom for guests who don't necessarily want to take the group trip that we're offering. And if you don't know what puma trekking is, it's magnificent. We work with the very best guys for that. It's where they take you out into the field and you can literally get within just several feet of pumas. And they're very successful at doing it. It's not guaranteed, and it's not for everybody. You know, might have to take a nap out in the field because you got up at 2 in the morning. They're all the guides are always out there scouting out where the cats can be found. But it's definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience and something unique that Chile can offer. And if you do decide to do something like that, with IE or not, please make sure you go with a reputable, licensed guide. There aren't many of them. Some of them know how to do it, but they don't have a license or they don't have a certification. First question you ask is if they're Chilean. If they're not Chilean, they don't have the authority to be doing what they're doing. And when you're talking about something that's potentially dangerous like that, you don't want to be going with the second best. There are a handful of guides down there who are really qualified to do it. But Charlie's been having a lot of success with that, with his guests, and especially with the birding as well. He has a program he calls Pumas, Penguins, and Whales that obviously highlights pumas, penguins, and whales. There's a, excuse me, a king penguin colony in Tierra del Fuego, and that has just been, it's on our Patagonia program, and it's just an absolute hit with visitors. It's the most accessible king penguin colony outside of Antarctica. So if seeing king penguins has ever been on your list and a trip to Antarctica is not in your future, that's a good opportunity. The walking's very easy. It's very flat. You're very close. It's nothing as arduous as getting to Argentina. You combine that with the puma trekking in Wales, it's really something special. His birding trips anywhere in Chile never disappoint. And we're featuring now Wine and Wildlife, which actually describes Chile pretty well. Combining the wonderful natural history and the world-class wine, some of the best in the world. Some of the best wines in the world are just a short drive from Santiago or a short flight from a few other places. So if you have any interest in custom itineraries, you just give us a call and speak with Charlie. He'd be the right person. Here's a list of some of his birds and wines. Okay, and I thank you very much for listening to our presentation. Hopefully you're excited about Chiloé and all the wonderful things that Chile has to offer. And I'll find out if there are any questions. Lee, do you have questions, or Christy?
All right. Well, this is Lee. I'll hop back in here and just encourage our audience. If you have any questions for Bill right now about the material, the destination, or anything that we've discussed, you can send it into the question box. It's over on the right-hand side of your screen. You might need to click the orange button with the white arrow to open it back up. But if you do have questions, send those in. And
a frequent question I should have addressed. I'm sorry, Lee. A frequent question I should have addressed. Americans do not need a visa, and the reciprocity tax for Americans has been suspended. So there's no longer the $160 to get into the country. That doesn't apply for Canadians. Canadians do still have to pay the reciprocity tax, but I don't believe they need a visa.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
So what is looks like our top question here is about the weather. What's the weather like, and when would be the best time to go?
The weather is best there in their summer, which is November through March, roughly. You know, the weather is so difficult to predict these days. It is an area of rainforest, and so you can expect some rain. It's warm, not hot. Chilly nights. You can expect a little bit of rain. I'm trying to think of the temperatures. The trip is February, so you're probably looking at 80s during the day and 50s at night, more than likely, on average.
Hey Bill, I just want
to get a rain shower or 2 or 3 mixed in there too, but you know, probably nothing huge.
Hey Bill, this is Christy. I just wanted to clarify because I'd answered a question about the weather for someone already, and I just didn't want there to be confusion. So since our trip is in February, on Chiloé Island, the high is around 59 with the low of 43. Is that accurate?
It's probably an average. It's probably an average, yeah.
Okay. Average temperatures in Fahrenheit. And then if you're in Puerto Varas or Santiago, obviously it's warmer.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any confusion. Thank you.
Okay. And then there was just a request for you to reiterate when prime whale watching time would be.
That is November through March. I'm sorry, December through March. So in the middle of that would be prime. January, February.
Okay. All right. And so talking a little bit about the weather and the seasons and all that, so we have someone who's interested in going in August. Now, August is going to be their winter, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to do this on a separate screen. Forgive me for making this presentation a bit ugly there while I hit a button. I don't think they offer it during that time of the year. I'm going to look right now.
Okay.
So if you'll give me a moment, you can ask another question, or if anybody has another question while I look this up.
Yeah, so while you're looking that up, There was a question here about how one would find out who their leaders and guides would be on a specific trip. Is that on the website, or is that best to call in to find out?
It's best that you call in. We put a list on the web because in some destinations you can confirm an expedition leader 2 years in advance. In some, they just can't do it until, say, 6 months, 7 months. And so we'll have a list on there. Our eggs aren't in one basket anywhere in the world, so we have a stable of great guides and expedition leaders to choose from. For this one, this is more of a 6 to 9 months before we know which expedition leader we'll be using.
Okay.
And it's best to call.
Okay.
But all the bios and the names are up there on the web.
All righty. Now, on this particular trip, how many travelers will you be with?
Oh, I'm sorry. For our group, it's a maximum of 18. And we add a second expedition leader at 14. So it's one expedition leader up to 13, and then 2 for up to 18.
All righty.
And I'm still looking for that date. I'm sorry. I'm going through their website here.
Okay. All right. No worries. What about hiking on glaciers? Is that something that's done?
Not to my knowledge. Maybe in Torres del Paine, but not to my knowledge there.
Okay. Do you happen to know, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here, about this bird that we see on the screen? Do you happen to know the name of this bird?
Not that particular one, I don't.
That's okay.
The guys that we work with there actually wrote the birding books for Patagonia.
Wow.
That's why we hire them. Yeah.
Yes.
I've never been good at identifying my birds.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
so the Easter Island extension that you mentioned, where can one go to find more information about that, the links and the price?
Yeah, our website as well. I don't know that they'll find any pricing on there because that would be a custom itinerary. So it would be priced for them for what they want to do. Let's see here. Okay, I finally found the website. They start, September 16th is the first departure of 2017, for example. So it's mid-September that they start, and then late April that they end. So there are definitely low and shoulder season departures with the cruise, but not August. Yeah.
Gotcha. All righty. Well, I think I'll stop there. Christy, was there anything else that you saw as you were looking through the questions that we want to make sure that we cover?
Yes, Lee. There was a question about is it possible to include astronomy areas in the trip, and I know that's a question that we get frequently.
Yeah, that would be a custom itinerary as well. Yes, but that is the Vicuña, V-I-C-U-N-A, the N with the squiggly line above it, A, Vicuña. It's in the La Serena area. Yeah, that's entirely possible. There are, I forget how many, there's like at least a dozen. I don't know how many of them, different ones you would need to visit. I mean, you're going to see the same stars, but they have evening programs, a few different things. You can stay the whole night even. There's an eclipse. I'm glad somebody asked that actually. In July of 2019, there will be an annular eclipse coming through the La Serena area. Annular means, somebody out there knows astronomy and they're probably going to scream if I get this wrong, but it's either the moon goes in front of the sun or the Earth's shadow goes in front of the sun, but doesn't cover the sun completely, so you get a fiery ring around the edge as an annular eclipse. It's not a total eclipse. That's going to be going through the La Serena area, which is just perfect because it's practically the astronomy capital of the world in July of 2019, and we're working very hard on an itinerary for that, where we'll have a local astronomer from the big telescope that they have up there, the radio telescope in Atacama. That's a radio telescope. You can't look through it. Excuse me, I forget the name. It's initials. I'm just drawing a blank. But we'd have a Chilean astronomer there, and guess we get to look through the telescopes, obviously not at the eclipse, but it would feature the eclipse.
Okay.
July of 2019 is when that's coming through.
July 2019. Perfect. Okay. All righty. Well, I am going to stop there and turn it back over to you, Bill, for anything else you might like to share before we go.
Okay. Well, the questions were a great example of all the wonderful things that Chile has to offer. Please do visit our website. Call us with any questions. One way or another, you got to get there. It's such a beautiful place, and we'd love it if you would go with us and give us a call. Thank you so much for your time.
And my thanks as well, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us. If you came in late, we did record everything, and we will post it up on our website. And if you submitted a question that we might not have yet answered, we do have a log of that, and we will get back to you. So thank you so much for being with us, and this will conclude our webinar. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.